Hello everyone. Before we start, if all of you have a question to ask our panel for this morning, please do not hesitate to ask at the YouTube live chat. Link for the e-certificate will be given during the sharing session. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe this video. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good day I wish to all of you. Welcome to Talk Sharing. Oh my English, make improvements, not excuses. Thank you for making your time to watch this live streaming of a very interesting talk for today. English is not just a language, but also a lifestyle. Nowadays, more and more people are dedicating time to study English as a second language. Many countries include English in their school syllabus, and children are starting to learn English at younger and younger age. In developed countries, almost everyone speaks English and they live all over the world. Do you know that 53 countries already name English as their official language? While about 400 million people globally use it as their first language. But unfortunately, in our society, our people feel shy and there are too much confused and nervous to speak in English. Hence, for today, we are going to discuss deeper regarding this topic, which is how to make improvement to excel in English. With me, ATHILAH, as your moderator for today. On behalf of Debat and Orator Club, also Akademi Pengajian Bahasa UiTM Kuala Pilah, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We hope you will learn a lot today and we have lined up for you to be fruitful and engaging. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge our distinguished guest this morning. He was a research assistant in University Kebangsaan Malaysia, English instructor in University Tun Abdul Razak, English tutor Faculty of Mechanical Engineering in University Technology Mara, Shah Alam, training teacher, English tutor private home tuition, an actor, stage manager, and also theater activist. I'm very sure that all of you are very excited to meet him, right? A handsome panel that will be here with me today is Mr. IADID ASHRAI. Currently, he is an English lecturer and advisor of Debat and Orator Club in UiTM Negeri Sembilan branch, Kuala Pilah campus. Welcome, Mr. IADID. How are you?
Thank you so much for the introductions. Very long introduction, but I really appreciate it, Farah. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Hello, Mr. IADID. All right.
Hello, how are you? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
But
Right.
for I think for the viewer informations, it's just that I already stopped acting. It's just that I still like theater, but then I don't have time to like act.
Yeah, we understand that, Mr. IADID.
All right.
Right? All of us are so lucky to have you, Mr. IADID, for today because I
Oh, thank you
believe
so much.
because I believe that you have a huge knowledge in this language that can be shared to us.
Sure, sure. I hope that this talk will give you some tips and some inspiration to how to improve the English language. Hopefully, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yadid. All right. Without further ado, I will jump to the first question to Mr. Yadid. The
Yes.
first question is quite simple, which is
Mhm.
why do we say English is a must this day? Because I think we do need an explanation in this, since
Mhm.
it has been 100 million people have been wondering why must English? So I welcome Mr. Yadi to answer this question.
All right. English language is a universal language already. You know, when you go somewhere, everyone will speak English, and then it's not just it's not just the communications. Okay, it has been internet language, it has been the finance language, it has been everything. The industry all around the world, has been using English language. You know, you cannot avoid when you go to the overseas and whatnot. Everything must be communicated in English language, So how are you going to master the language, And it is an advantage for you because like in our country, we are making English language as a second language, and our official language in terms of like, administration, diplomacy. And if we cannot speak English language, it shows that we're not universal enough. Okay, so how are we going to like communicate and understand is giving us advantage as well, knowing English language. First we have like a Malay language, and then we learn and master English language. We are becoming bilingual, and nowadays there are multilingual speakers that can speak more than two languages, three language, okay, even like more than five languages. So why are we stopping ourselves to be proficient in English language? And it's important, nowadays you have to like compete with yourself to get into a very good career, and you can sell yourself, not just in a Malaysian company. You can sell yourself if you are very proficient in English language. You can sell yourself, especially undergraduates, to work with global link companies nowadays. So I think it is important for you, to have the proficiency in English language. So yeah, I hope that's answer your question, Farah, Atila.
Yes, thank you,
Mm.
sir. Thank you, Mr. Yadi, for the enlightenment. I
Yes.
agree with your explanation. I bet
Yes.
that all of our audience for today will get an idea of
Mm-hmm.
why English is a must these days.
Yes, true. Yeah.
All right, next, we will move on to the next question. I would like to ask Mr. Yadi with a question about how we can improve our English. Because as we know, people tend to feel embarrassed to speak in English.
Mm-hmm.
Even in their daily conversation, they're afraid to include that English element inside their conversation.
True.
So I think they feel uncomfortable and anxious about it. What do you think, Mr. Yadi?
Um, Basically, this is what we call, the experience that they had. Probably most of, I think I don't know the current situation that is happening around the school nowadays. But back then, you are being brought up, not to. If you're saying something in English, people would mock you or like judge you. So, so I still remember that back in those days when I was in school, I came from a rural school area where, I rarely speak in English language. I didn't use English language because, I didn't practice English language because, you are being afraid of being judged using the language at that time. But I don't know nowadays because I can see it has changed. It's just that the situations and the scenario has changed, and probably they would still think that they would still have this mindset of people judging them having to speak in English language. But um, I would say just ignore, just whatever whatever people say that you speak in English language. um, it's not important because you are the one who make improvement to yourself, not other people. So it gives you, sort of like a plus point for you, because you are learning, you are practicing the language, and if people mock us, it won't affect us. All right. So I would say, don't be shy of making mistakes. And students are, I always say to my students and my class when I start, every early semesters, you come to my class not to become a native speaker, but you are making this English language as a tool for you to use it later on. It's not for you to have accent like a UK accent or whatnot. You can have anything, accents that you have. And I would say, for your information, like the language itself, the second language user are more than, English language. Basically, for those who are using English language as a second language, there are more than 96% of people using English language as a second language. And then I think 4% only, as the one that use English language as their first language. So you don't have to worry about your accent, you don't have to worry about, whether you are making mistake or not, because as long as you deliver the message, it's important. That's already good enough. So and that's why people, my students are always like, stuttering, and they are afraid, because they would have this, and their mind will think, oh, am I good enough, did I make mistakes, so how should I construct the sentence in English, oh my god, how is it my grammar, and then, so everything was like coming into your mind, but you don't let yourself just to like express and convey and deliver the message. And that's the important part. So for example, when you see like someone who is a foreigner, or like a English person, all right, so expatriate, and then you're like, oh, you're already shocked, seeing that, and surprised, and then when they ask you something, they were like, so how should I say it, so don't be afraid of them being a native speaker, as long as you can deliver the message that is important. Yes. So I hope it does answer your question, Farah.
Yes, that's true. Thank you, Miss Yadi, for the enlightenment.
Yes. Yes.
I'm very agree with your explanation. I bet that
Yeah.
all of our audience today will take notes every single thing that you have said just now.
True. True. And then don't let the mistakes that you're doing making you feel down. Learning is a continuous process. Later on, when I show you my slides, my presentations, you know that where did I come from? And to be honest, I wasn't good in communicating in English back then, but it takes years. It takes like a very good years to like consistently improve myself to speak in English language. It's not just at that moment you can just speak in English, unless you are very privileged. You are coming from a very good family, like a very good status family, where your family speaks English every day with you, and you are being brought up, having to speak English with your family and whatnot. So we all are the same. I made my mistakes previously, but I learned from it. You don't make your mistake as a full stop for you, as a barrier for you to just stop from doing it. Okay.
Yeah, it's true. I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the stigma in our society is very, very huge.
Yes, yes, true, true, true.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss Yadid,
Yes.
for the clear answer for this question.
Mm.
All right. We will be moving on to the next question for today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, One of the reason people
Mm-hmm.
cannot make any improvement in English because they are afraid in making mistakes when
True.
speaking English. Yeah.
Yes.
And then um, how we can improve our English in this, like how should I say this, like what we can do to improve, not just by staying in the lecture class, or something that
Mm-hmm.
we can do in our daily life, like slowly but surely.
Okay. Mm, not just in the class, Um, you can actually start by communicating with your friends. I started to like improve myself, like looking at back and then reflect back the things. When you did a lot of presentation in classes, right? You have to present it in English language. So and then you started to realize, when you do presentations and whatnot in classes, you want to improve yourself, and you want to have like you want to be a good presenter, you want to get good marks for the language and presentations. And when you are reflecting, and when you do a lot of reflections about your presentation, when you record yourself of doing presentation, and that's good enough, so you can see yourself, okay, this is how I should improve myself. That is the first thing that you can try to do, because you are surrounded with this because you are having a lot of presentations, right? So because you're students, so that's the thing that you will, the time that you can speak in English, and you can improve yourself, and you can build up your confidence. Okay. So once you are comfortable with yourself, for me, I started to have a discussion with my friend in English language. You know, so when you have a group work, you don't speak Malay, try not to speak Malay with them. So when we're having this sort of like heavy discussion or heavy topic of like the discussions about the things that you will have to do, try to speak English language, because you learn it in English. Why don't you try to like having it in English language as well? So that's what I did back in my degree year, where we're having a discussions. Try to like practice it with your friend. Surround yourself who is very positive to speak English with you. They don't judge you, then they don't mock you like having to make mistakes. So it is important. I think I don't know whether in UiTM they still have this stigma or like culture or mindset, like when you speak English they will like, ooh, okay, okay, can you like speak Malay, all right? So I don't know whether they still have that mentality or not. But if you feel that that friend was like, was having that reaction, so I think you can just find other friends that can like, do the practice of using the language. Okay. So yes, okay, it's all about yourself, having it to do it on your own way, because like Shakespeare say, to be or not to be, all right? Whether you want it or not, okay? So that's the important part, I would say, okay? And another thing is that, nowadays is like, there are a lot of ways of you doing it. So in my class, I actually don't force my student, because once you force the students, they won't do it. I told them, it's all about you making change to yourself, whether you want to do it or not. Because like if you force the students, especially my students, but of course I did force them to like read, okay, like to read or to speak in English, you know but when I keep on forcing them, they would feel like, they will feel distress, they will feel like a dread, lah kenapa nak kena baca ni, but I always like relate it to the things that, why do you need to read this, why do you need to like understand the text, why do you need to speak the language, because it is important, it is important, it is a crucial time where you need to remember, there are thousands of students who are studying in the universities. So how can you like, you know, uh, how do I say this? How could you like, stand out from other people, you know? So once you master the language, once you can speak with other people with good proficiency, then people will like, oh, okay, so avoid that, especially students, try not to be afraid of yourself practicing the language. And if people keep on saying, oh, dia ni suka lah, like to speak in English language, like try to being snobbish ke, you know whatever they're saying, the most important part will be you are doing it, all right? You are becoming a very good speaker, not them. Okay, so yes, I hope that answer your question. I think it's very too long explanation there, Farah.
Yes, yes, it's very answer my question. Great tips from Mr. Yedid. I
But
believe,
yes,
yeah,
but if I say that, okay, nowadays it's just at the tip of your finger. You can just Google the things that you want to learn, and there are a lot of things for you to like, okay, how can I improve my English language? And if you like just Google it now, there will be like, oh, you know uh, 10 tips of how are you going to improve your English language, but are you going to do it or not?
yeah, that's
That's the
true.
important thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's in the internet right now we can also find it in social media. There's a lot of tips or teachers or someone make
Yes.
video just to help us on how to improve our English. It's not just in our country, but other countries also doing the same thing.
True. Yes, thank you.
All right. I believe that it
That's
will be valuable to most of us. All of the advice that Mr. Yadi gave will be beneficial to us and to all of the audience. So I think we will gonna have a few more questions before we move on to the Q&A session.
Yes, yes, I can see a lot of questions coming in from the comment section here.
I think they're very excited to ask you about their opinion too.
Yeah, 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 yeah. True.
All right. So you say just now that people around the world use English over 90% of people around the world use English as their second language.
Mhm,
So I want to ask a question to Mr. Yadid about,
mhm,
is good English language knowledge
mhm.
important for us to finding our work or career, to build up our career?
Yes, yes, it is important. Okay. Because like I say in the introduction just now, English language is being used by many sector nowadays. Medical sector, financial sector, and also diplomacy sector, where you govern, you know, government sector. It's not. English language is very important where you want to have a communications between your clients, your other other people in the job industry. So it is very important, and nowadays you can see Malaysian has becoming a center for all the expat to come and work here, and then you need to have the language. You can see that there's a lot of company here in Malaysia that sort of like bring in all the foreigners to work with us, to build up our country together. But yes, English language is very important. You cannot avoid having English language. So like I said, English language is a universal language nowadays. And one thing that I want to remind you, if you like if you speak language, it doesn't mean that your culture disappear. You're still you who you are Malay, or you Chinese, or you Indian, because we are second language user, we're not like native speaker. So we still have that culture on our side, in ourselves. Don't worry about, like, how, oh, if I speak in English language, I become less Malay. No, no, that's not true, right? But you're becoming more and more open person because you embrace other culture as well. So sort of like this, when you watch Korean dramas or you listen to Korean songs, okay, how are you? I think most of you, like, when you listen to the Korean actor saying something like "sarange" without reading subtitle, you would understand it. If you listen to that Korean song by BTS, you can like pronounce it. Why you can do that, but not with English? Why? So you need to ask that, why? Even though, like, you watch a lot of Korean dramas, you can get the pronunciation of the words, and you don't have to read the subtitle, because you know what does it mean. For example, well, for example, chincha, those are the things that you can, oh, okay, I can know the words already. But why not English? Okay, so that's why it's so you need to think, oh, eh, you know so why do you have to stop yourself of having the language? If you can master Korean language, you have Malay language, why not English? You will become a more than, not just bilingual, you can become like multilingual speaker. So it is important. And then nowadays, if you're looking for a job, for example, there is you're using social media as a medium, like LinkedIn, or nowadays Instagram. How are you going to connect yourself, especially LinkedIn? you know um, Previously, I got work from company, a translating company in Ireland, where it calls the company called Lion Bridge. So they asked me to write an essay, about myself and whatnot, before I applied for the job. So I was like, okay, before I got the job as a lecturer here, so I applied using my CV. I applied, when you have to like describe about yourself and whatnot. Guess what? I got the job as a part-time translator back then. I have to translate the text from, I have to review the text from English language to Malay language, which, you can sell yourself once you have the language that they are using, because they're looking, a lot of jobs, when you have the language, they would just like, okay, even though he's in Malaysia, you can work remotely from Malaysia, but the company is in Dublin, Ireland. So I did have that experience. So it's not impossible for you to have that, as long as you have a good proficiency in English language. Yes, Yazani.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Right.
Yedid, for
Yeah.
also you share your experience with us just now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a very interesting experience that you have go through
Mm-hmm.
before you be a lecturer.
Yes, yes.
So I think this is gonna be last question before we move on
Okay.
to the Q&A session.
Oh yeah, sure, sure.
So I think the last question that we want to ask you for today is,
Mhm.
do you think learning English since at a young age is important for us to excel in English? Maybe when we learn English at a young age, and then it will be gonna be easy when we grow up. So what do you think about it?
I cannot deny it. I see there's one question from our viewer here, Yasmin Mazlan. I think she's my student. Yes, Yasmin, I still remember your name. Once I look at your name, I think I can remember, but I cannot remember your face. Should we use bilingual to our kids? Okay, future to boost their skill in English language. Yes, I cannot deny it. There is a linguist expert, linguist philosophy saying, Chomsky said that to a baby, language can be learned when they're still newborn, when they're still in their mommy's tummy. All right. So then at that time we call it, all the linguistic expert would know this, where we call it a critical window period, where the language box in our mind would absorb all the language that they have learned. So I think nowadays it is important for the parents to expose the children to have to learn the language. You can speak to your baby using the language, English language, Malay language at the same time, because they would understand. They would understand. Okay, so is because once you reach a puberty, for example, once you reach at the age of 7 years old, the language box started to close up. And at that time, you have to acquire the language, meaning that you have to learn. The language doesn't absorb anymore. So that's the important period where, if you want your students, or if you want your child to have the language, start early. But like I said, most of us do not have that privilege of having the language. I think like old parents, like living in a rural areas where they don't know the language. uh, yes, you have to work hard for it to get to that proficiency. But in future, when you want to have a child, I would advise you to start early. All right. So for example, you can see nowadays, if you have a little sister or little brother, you they're exposed to this language, not back in my time where we back in my time we don't have internet, we don't have YouTube, we only have like play recorder, VCR. I remember the time when I was like young age, my parents just bought me VCR, where I keep on rewind all the Disney movie, all the cartoons and whatnot. So but in these days, you have YouTube, and everything is in English songs. You can just like learn language, and I can see my nieces, my nephews, they're exposed, because they have been exposed themselves with this YouTube, and they can speak the language, they can even sing using the language. So you can see the difference, the different era or the different generation. So when it comes to the new generation later, where it will be your children, so don't stop the process to have the language. So because once they acquire the language at a very early stage, it would be much easier for them to master the language. So that's why it is important. So starting like at the age of like 2 years old, they can like really absorb all the language. So Noam Chomsky said that, so once you speak like Malay language or English language, they can understand, and then later on they can learn other language easily. So yeah, I say yes. It is good for you to expose yourself early, but for me, it's how do I say this? For me, I started like a bit late. I started a bit late. Um, when when I was like a little kid, I remembered, even though my parents stayed in rural areas, but they're working parents. But for their generation, they, we don't have at that time they didn't have vernacular schools where they have like Chinese, Indian, or Malay school only. They all mixed up, Malay, Indian, and Chinese, all at one school together. And I remember my mom would say that they would speak English with each other, and at that time they can speak the language, but cannot write. But nonetheless, they can speak as long as they can speak the language. And I still remember when I was a little kid, I can remember my dad was speaking English language with his colleagues or with his other races friend, or even my mom. When I went to her office, I can listen to her saying English language with her Indian friends. They didn't speak in Malay language at that generation, because they expose themselves, because they have only that thing, the exposure of having the language to speak with their friends. Okay. But now everything's like at the tip of your finger. You buka YouTube, and then you can TikTok. All right, nowadays TikTok, you can see all your little sister or brother. They're like, oh, they imitating. All right, they imitating the things that they've been listened. But we need to be very careful in terms of like the video. All right, we need to filter as well. Yeah, I think it is good for you to have the early exposure of the English language.
Thank you, Mr. Yadid, for your opinion.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
very agree with you that children really do have the ability that we as adults do not have.
True.
So I think
They
the
are
teenagers out
fearless.
there who will be have family, they can take these tips and try to shape your child early for the English language
Yes.
learning.
Yes, that's true.
So, but all of you, do not be afraid because we also, as an adult, always have room to improve ourselves. Not just by being a children, we can learn English, but we as an adult, as at our age, we can also improve ourselves day by practices, right, Mr. Yadid?
Yes, yes, true.
All right. Now we are moving on to
Mm-hmm.
the next session, which is the Q&A session. So
Yes.
I will read some of the question in the comments section
Yes,
and
yes.
ask to our panel for today. So I will
Mm-hmm.
start with the first question. Admin,
Yeah.
please select a question for me. All right. So we have the first question with us today from Sabrina
Okay.
Karim. So the first question is, would there any ways to vary my vocabulary? Because I tend to keep on using the same vocab. So what do you think, Mr. Yadid, about this question?
Well, read. Read and listen. That is the most important thing that you can do. When you read, you encounter the new vocabulary. When you encounter the new vocabulary, you would tend to like, what does it mean by this word? Or usually what I do was that I usually look up. Nowadays you are having a smartphone. You're not having like a big dictionary where you have to carry around, at that, I remember that time where I have to carry around the big dictionary, and then every time when I want to look for the word, I have to like flip it, the like hundreds of pages of dictionary. But nowadays, you know once you like encounter the words, you can just like go to the apps, or yes, go to the apps and then look up for the word meaning, and then you can straight away look at the thesaurus. What does it mean? The similarity. There is that's what we call synonyms of the word. So that's one thing that you can do. I usually, when because back then it was hard for me. It was very difficult because I remember when I read Harry Potter, there's a lot of words that I didn't know, and it was I I started to feel, I started to like giving up, like "Ugh, susahnya, there's a word that I didn't know, and then and because you have to like highlight it at first, you have to like mark the book, and then just to find the word to understand. But uh, that was back then, that was back then, and then I just but nowadays it's really easy. You just have to read. Once you encountered an unfamiliar word, you you would find it in the apps, or like and then, for example, the words that you want to use, and then you seems that when you write down, all right, you will feel when you do your writing, right? You will feel that I think I've used this word like few times. Oh, sorry. I use these few words few times, and then you can try to like look up in the online dictionary what is the synonym for this word. So yes, you can use that, and then try to practice it. Once you know the meaning, you practice it. When you want to communicate or when you want to talk. Okay, so that's how you retain the new vocabulary in your mind. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Yadi, for answering the question.
Yes.
So we will move on to the next question.
Mhm.
Alright, we have the second question here from Muhammad
Mhm.
Sharizal Zalmi Muhammad Safi. So,
Uh,
is it reasonable if we want to fix our pronunciation and the way we speak just to fit in with others?
oh, okay. Very good. Very good questions. Okay, is it reasonable if you want to fix our pronunciation and the way we speak? Okay. Okay. Let's see the scenario. Okay. You are second language speakers. Okay, you don't have to be like a native speakers. You don't need to have accents. Okay, uh, as long as you can, as long as the listener can understand the words that you're saying, that's good enough. You don't have to fix your pronunciation. But there's always but. Okay, but if you know the pronunciation is wrong at the first time, okay, of course you would listen to other people. Oh, this is not how you pronounce it. This is how you should pronounce it. Once you know the correct way of pronunciation, then you have to like keep it in your mind. This is how I should pronounce it. So take it as a constructive feedback from the person who say, this is not how you pronounce it, this is how you should pronounce it. Not take it as a very bad comment or negative comment. Once you know the correct way of doing it, then after that, after later on when you want to speak with other people, then you can improve yourself. But for example, like if you're like speaking with your friend and you didn't know how to pronounce it, you mispronounce a word, at that time with others, uh, just like act natural, because you didn't know you didn't know the pronunciation of the words. But if that person like, oh, this is not how this tells you that this is not how you pronounce it, and you will like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, okay, that's all right. So but like I said, is it reasonable if you want to fix our pronunciation? At that time, at the moment of you speaking, no need. All right. But after that, once you like, after you finish talking to other people, to others, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Yadid, for the clear answer for the second question.
Okay.
So we're moving on to the third question. That means
Yes. Okay.
we have the third question from Muhammad Zuhazri. I think
Okay.
that English can be implemented as a formal language because our modern culture requires us to do so. But
Yes.
as a casual time, it may be too overwhelming to use it as a natural language. What do you think,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Yadi?
All right. Okay. Wait. All right. So, can be also a formal language. Yes. Okay. As a In my opinion, it depends on the environment that they have. Of course, when you have people around you who speaks mixed language, they can easily code switching. We call it in the language field. It won't be a problem. Um, like I say, it depends on the situations. Okay, yes, of course, English, should be implemented as a formal language, because it is a modern culture. We have to like, walk in the same path with other countries as well, because they are moving forward, all right, and it, it's not a we're not going to be backwards, if we don't keep ourselves on track. But in a casual time, like I said, it depends on the situations. Okay. So when you go for like kampong, when you go back kampong, of course you have to like you need to know the situations. It is a casual time, but do you think it's a, uh, it's a proper time for you to speak English language with your elders, like your auntie or your uncles, but unless they're speaking in the language, they can speak in the language, then go ahead, you can speak it casually with them. But like I said, like for those who doesn't have the proficient in English, should you speak English language with them? So in a casual time, okay, of course not. Okay, they wouldn't understand. But like I said, if you have a group of friends who can mix the language, who can have the discussion with you when you go for McDonald's, or when you go like Starbucks, or when you go like a tea life, and then you have like a sort of like gossip and discussion with your friends, go ahead if you can mix around, mix the language, like Roja, or you can use the language, English language in a casual time. It's not a problem. Okay. Natural, I kind of like, it's not a problem if you want to have it as a natural language during the casual time. All right, so it's not a problem, it's not an issue. It's even better if you want to have like a sharing session with your friend using the language. You can be proficient towards the language. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Yadi, for your
Mm-hmm.
explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think this will be one last question for the Q&A session before we end this session.
Okay.
So, all right, we have the last question here from Hani Fadiha. So,
Yes,
sir,
honey.
when we want to say something in English, of course, we need
Mm-hmm.
to construct the sentence in our head first. But how
Mm-hmm.
can we think faster and construct sentences faster in our head?
Very good question, honey. Very good. Utilize it as a tool, right? You make your brain, your language box as a tool, not as an art. This is what I'm. This is what you need to know. All right, English language is not an art to be mastered. It's just a tool to use to get a result, and the tool is belong to you, whether you want to use it or not. Once you have utilized the tool, sort of like a machine, you know, when you are good with the machine, you don't have to you don't have to, you know, try so hard, but of course at the early stage you have to sort of give a full effort from doing it, to think and to how to construct the sentence at first. So it's very hard. Yeah, I know it's difficult, because but once you have utilize 100% of the tools, it can easily flow to your mind what are the things that you're going to say. So it is not an art for you to to master. It's a tool for you to use. Okay, so that's the important thing that you need to remember. Okay, because most of the students think that it is the thing for you to master. No, English language is a tool for you to deliver the message. Okay, but yes, like I said, uh, you need to utilize it. If you don't utilize it like machine, it will be, it will be rust, you know karat. You have to right, and you have to polish it back, that's but once you have utilized it, keep on using it. Okay, don't stop. All right, so it's like machine. Our brain is like machine. All right, there's a in our brain, this is the part where your language start at the front of your frontal lobe here, where the language start and everything, and how are you going to process the words and whatnot. It is at this part of the brain, right, frontal lobe. So once you utilize the word, it can easily flow. Okay. um, how are we going to faster think faster and doing whatnot? It depends on you. How are you going to do that? All right. So because for me, I learn like a different way, or probably you did learn it different way on how are you going to tweak the to tweak how are you going to tweak the approach of you master the language to be your innate language. All right, so it depends on you. Okay, maybe you can practice it, or when you watch movies, or when you read books, okay, or when you write, or when you speak with other people, it will retain in your head. All right, but different people have different ways of doing it. But of course, you just have to remember, English language is a tool, not an art for you uh, to 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 master. Okay. All right, I hope that answer your question, honey.
Thank you, Miss IADID, for answer all the
Okay.
Q&A session that we have
Okay.
today. Unfortunately, we cannot take all of the questions because I think there are too much questions to answer to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe.
I think I would like to answer this one question. I think this is I hope Farah could give me one or 2 minutes just to answer the question
Oh, of course,
from
of course.
Ed here. So how to improve my English grammar when speaking? I realize my sentences when I speak always terbalik compared when I write. Um, don't think it as yes, grammar is a bit difficult. It can be somewhat difficult. Ed, how do I call you, Ed? For your information, during my foundation year, I got C for my grammar paper. I'm not shy to I'm not shy to say that, because yes, grammar is a bit difficult at first, but you know yes, you have to learn. Once you master the grammar, then you can speak properly. But it's okay, that is the learning process. That is the learning process of you having to be proficient with the language, because uh, like I said, okay, so every bit of grammar can, you thought something that is like a grammatical code in your mind, but like I said, you don't have to think like that, right? You just need to think that it needs to be something that can help you to tell the story of the message that you want to talk to other people. As long as you can deliver and relay the message to other people, then that is okay. All right, you don't have to think it's something like, okay, at first you don't have to think it like something that is a code for you to like, correct, okay, you have to think, this is how you this is how you should say it at first. All right, but because you don't have to like make it as a code, because it is a learning process. It takes time, it takes year for me to like master the language. I think during my high school year, I cannot speak an English language, because even though I like to read, I like reading. I think, I like reading since I was like in the primary years, and my mom would, she saw me like reading, and then that's how I love the language. But I cannot speak. I cannot speak in front of other people because I'm afraid of doing mistake. Even though I like to read, it doesn't mean that I'm good in grammar. Trust me, the grammar, you have to acquire it. You have to like, once you know the language, once you use the language, once you practice the language, then you will know, okay, this is how I should speak. Okay, but come on, you are still students, you are in the learning process, and learning is a continuous process, man. Right, you cannot jump to be a very good native speaker just like that, unless you are privileged. Okay. All right, I think thank you, Farah, for giving me the time for me to say the last question.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Miss IADID, for answering the last question. So,
Mhm.
well, the clock is ticking right now, and we do not have much
Yes.
time to wrap
Yeah,
this up.
so.
Learning English
Mhm.
language is a good comment over the English language, has the great
Mhm.
importance, and it cannot be neglected in today's scenario.
Mhm.
One language sets you in a corridor for life. Two
Mhm.
languages open every door along the way. And to learn a language is to have one more window from which to look at the world. Let us start the effort now and make improvement day by day until we achieve our goal to excel in English. With that, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Yadi to spend his time to share a lot of tips on how to excel in English in our talk sharing Oh My English, Make Improvement, Not Excuses. Until we see you again for the next talk, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Farah, for inviting me. Thank you, the organizer. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Debate Club, UiTM Kuala Pilah, for inviting me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome,
Uh,
Mr. Yadi. For all
yes.
the audiences, do not forget to fill in the Google form for your e-certificate for joining our talk for today. The link is on the YouTube live chat. I apologize for any shortcomings or flaws that occurred during the session. With that, I, Farah ATHILAH, signing off as a moderator for today. Until we meet again next time, bye bye. Assalamualaikum.